This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 18th show. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in, and I will keep you informed. If you're listening to my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can call into the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, a regular guest and represents the real estate arena, Wolf Puls with Windermere Real Estate Yarrow Bay. And today I'm going to talk with Wolf about tips that he's going to share for all of you buyers and all of you sellers and how to navigate through today's real estate environment. Wolf, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
My pleasure, Tina. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. And you did put in your description of the topic for conversation, we're going to talk from an old pro, somebody that's been doing this for quite a while. So great advice that he's going to be able to share again with all of you buyers and sellers in the market. Little background about Wolf. He has 31 years of real estate services, and 28 of those years have been at Windermere Yarrow Bay office, Kirkland Bellevue, specializing in real estate, resale homes and condos in all areas of the Greater Puget Sound area. 2012 president of 6,000 member local Realtor board, Seattle King County Realtors. 8-time selection as Seattle Magazine 5-star real estate agent, and 2014-2015 finalist as Best of Kirkland Realtor in Kirkland Reporter. Married to Linda Stewart for 27 years. Lindy retired from her career in teaching in about 12 more. How long ago now?
Oh, a couple of weeks.
It's been a couple of weeks?
Yeah, and we're still together.
Yeah. Oh, well, mine's been a few months and we're still together. So I get that comment there. She spent 40 years in the classroom. So he's a proud dad of Poncho, 8.5-year-old English Springer Spaniel. So Wolf, let's go ahead and start it today. And what should those considering listing their home, should they consider listing it in 2015 in the summer? What is your advice there?
Well, here's the kind of the thing that I'm running into, I think other agents are as well, is that we all know that the market's red hot.
Yes.
But the caveat in all of that is that it's not red hot, all-encompassing. So in other words, what I mean about that is there are certain neighborhoods certainly where you can look at the average market time. You know, it may be 6 days for the limited amount of inventory. And certainly in King County, that probably applies a little bit more. I know I'm not that familiar with Pearson. I certainly do some work in Snohomish, but it is area specific. So the expectation of a seller that when I list your home today, that I'll have an offer on for you on Sunday. We just need to make sure that everyone understands that not every house is going to sell right away. And we look at the average market time, and you find in a lot of neighborhoods, the average market time may still be 45 to 50 days.
Yeah.
I'm going to be listing a home up in South Snohomish County. And when I did the market analysis, Tina, the average market time for those homes was around 48 days.
Yeah.
So we don't create expectations that you're going to have to move right away and all that stuff. So I think that's when you keep that in mind, that helps both the seller as well as their broker.
Yeah, and your realtor is going to be able to give you the stats and data based in the neighborhood that you're selling in to get an idea of what what that turn time is, and important to get that. So, Wolf, what about our buyers that are listening to the show right now? Outside of the fact that they may be buying in a neighborhood where it really, truly, everything's kind of considered a selling market. It just depends on how quickly and how many multiple offers if they're going to see that. But what else should they be aware of in this market?
Well, back to the same kind of a deal is that, with your agent, ask, what is the market time for properties in this area? Certainly a lot of listings still do. They'll list it today and they'll say, we'll be looking at any and all offers next Tuesday night, for instance, right? So you work with your agent, you develop a strategy. I'm not sure there's any benefit to waiting till Monday night at 11 o'clock to send the offer over.
Okay.
Just sending in your best available offer, whatever you feel is best. Now, the other thing that I work with when I'm working with buyers is I try to take some of the anxiety out, I guess, and the thing about the auction mentality out of it, so that when a home is listed at, let's say it's listed at $350,000. So we talk about what is the maximum that the house with comparables should be selling for.
Yeah.
And in many cases, really, you don't really want to pay more than 10 or 15% at the highest above that, because if we do have a correction in the market, and there will be a correction sometime in the future, then at 10%, you're probably fairly safe that you can, if you're going to stay in the home for a while. But if you're paying 25% more than the market value is, you're putting yourself in a real precipitous position down the road should you need to sell your house.
Yep, makes total sense. So let's go back to on the seller side. Let's talk about the big Z website and Zillow. Is that really a place for sellers to go to get an idea of what they should be listing their homes at?
Well, I have to be very careful how I answer that question.
Of course you do.
But Zillow's a terrific place to go. It's very entertaining.
It is. They got a lot of great data.
Well, they have a lot of data. Let's put it that way.
Some great, some maybe not so great.
Yeah, I think the thing that professional brokers struggle with is that the data, of course, you have to remember that it's derived for algorithms and public information. No one from Zillow ever goes inside your home.
Sure.
They don't know whether your home has been updated. They don't know whether your home has deferred maintenance. They don't know if there's a freeway in the back. All of that stuff that a professional will be able to use and compare to other similar homes. So let me give you a real quick example. There's a home I was doing a market analysis for a home that up in Clyde Hill, and one of the things on Zillow for another home that was on the market, that particular home hadn't even sold yet, but it was listed for sale at $2.2 million. The Zillow estimate had that house at $3.7 million.
Wow.
So the problem that you run into is it creates expectations sometimes from sellers that go, well, here's something in print that says my home's worth $3.7 million, and you're telling me it's only worth $2 million. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's an education process.
Yeah, when I'm talking with clients about refinances, I go to, there's 4 different public websites that I go to, Zillow being one of them, eAppraisal, and just kind of, you can see one house or one value being 400, another one being 440, another one being, 480. So yeah, really,
and you're right. And Zillow readily admits, what they're providing is not an appraisal. So use it as a portion of your information gathering.
Yep.
Don't rely on it 100%.
Makes total sense. Great advice. Now we're definitely not in a distressed market, thank goodness, like we were after the financial meltdown. But are there still short sales, bank-owned HUD properties available? And if there are, Wolf, or is it really just getting a extra great deal on these homes?
And I got to go again toward talking about King County, because I know that King County that's my knowledge base. And I would say that for the most part, when we're looking through the MLS, that there are no short sales. I haven't seen a short sale in any listings that I've shown for a long time. There are some REOs, I guess, and some HUD-owned properties, but they're not necessarily the steals that you might have gotten in 2010. When there was a surplus of them and properties were available, then it was a different story. So it's and the other thing is a lot of homes that were so-called distressed. Now, with the rebound in the market, they're no longer distressed.
They're no longer distressed, exactly, because they've got their equity back. So let's talk a little bit about the media, me being one of them, but I try to give the real story here on the show. But a lot of times in the media, they kind of stretch things, or they focus on a really small percentage of something that's happening, and they make it out to this is just the way it is. So let's get back to the seller and a little bit of a reality on their home, because they're hearing all homes are selling in a week, 10 days. So how are you having that communication with your seller?
Well, again, it usually is data driven, and it's an education process. And I mean, obviously, I read the media. We all do. But,
Sure.
If I just picked up the headline or I just was, walking around and caught the television and it's like the market's red hot and so on and so forth, that doesn't tell the complete story. So really talking with your broker, the real estate broker that you trust and that you feel is doing the research and getting the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
What's specific to my neighborhood?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Wolf, and a lot of the buyers right now, they're really pushing to the max as far as offers. They're not getting any concessions from sellers because it's a seller's market. What do you tell a buyer when a buyer asks for you to take your commission that you're earning off of that sale and give them a rebate?
Again, a little discussion here that we have to be careful with. Commissions are, as we know, they're always a negotiable item.
Sure.
But if I'm working with a buyer, I try to let them know is that essentially commissions or real estate fees is a contract between the seller and his or her listing broker in the brokerage. Okay, so that's basically something that I, as the buyer's agent, don't really have any control over. And when that's paid to the office, and I think that if we start on that as the focus, then we kind of lose track of what is the goal that we want to do.
Sure.
We want to everybody should be compensated fairly, but I think the thing that's really critical to remember for buyers these days is that while it may appear on the surface that being a buyer's agent is an easy job, it's much more competitive when you're bringing an offer and there's 8 other offers and trying to negotiate that and trying to figure out what to do. There's probably more work involved than there when it's a normal market.
Yeah.
So.
When I always tell buyers too, I mean, most of them don't realize actually the work really starts once that contract is under contract.
Oh, absolutely.
And, so it gets really crazy. We've got just a second here. Wolf, I want to wrap up with one last question for you. What about buyer contracts? Are you having your buyers sign a contract agreement between you and them?
Well, I brought this question up because it was a situation where I think this weekend's paper talked about buyer agency contracts.
Okay.
And that being the new hot item, is for buyers to worry about. I don't use buyer contracts, and I'll tell you why. I think that my philosophy is that if I have a good discussion up front with my clients, and we sit down for whatever time it takes, and I talk a little bit and then ask questions. I said, do you understand of how I am compensated for the work I do and how my work is done? If we have that trust, and then there's really no need for a buyer contract that binds them to me. I've always felt it is fine. As far as the working relationship goes.
Got it. Okay, Wolf. Well, thank you so much for
thanks again.
coming back in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you across the desk from me.
My pleasure, Tina. Thanks.
Coming up next on The Money Hour, what's happening with the Greek drama, oil prices, employment? Well, I've got Mark Pellegrino with the Rainier Group right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.